So you play in the grand final there, and you're one of only, I think, 5 players to have played in different grand finals with 3 different clubs. So that's a mad thing. Your Broncos, to go talk about the Dragons being a star-studded side. When you went to the Broncos, that's an even bigger star-studded side.
Yeah, that's a story in itself. So after the grand final in '96, obviously you're all hyped up. You want to stay with the Dragons, but I'd signed Super League and had to go back to Adelaide. And that next year, '97, I made the Super League Queensland side, and I had a clause in my contract that I was due. There was an upgrade in there if I represented. And so I walked into Rod Reddy's office after I'd represented Queensland. I said, it's basically here in black and white. I'm due for an upgrade, and I'd like an extension on my contract. And he basically he had a bit of a chuckle. He said, "Mate, who do you think you are?" He goes, "You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't tackle. Hey, and if I keep you here next year, no one's going to want you." So I'm a bit.
He's not related to Tim Sheens, he's actually.
So I was a bit, I turned around and walked out with a tail between my legs, and I was good mates with Brett Gay, and he had a relationship with Wayne, and obviously Wayne was the Queensland coach, so I rang Wayne and basically said what was going on, and it was just a good chat. He got me back upbeat, and he said, "Don't worry about it, things will work out." And about 3 weeks before the end of the year, I get a call from Wayne, and he goes, "Mate, we really want you to come to Brisbane." I go, "Oh shit, wow, that's unreal." I said, he goes, "Well, how am I going to do it?" He goes, "Well, this is what you got to do." He goes, "You got to sign with the Hunter Mariners, and you got to do a swap with Noel Goldthorpe because he wants out of the Hunter Mariners. So he'll go to Adelaide, you'll go to the Hunter Mariners." And I said, "Okay, yeah, no worries." And then what's going to happen? He goes, "Well, they're going to fold because I know that already. They're going to fold, and we're going to pick you up with the Broncos." I said, "Shit, wow, that's going to be unreal." So, to his credit, I signed with the Hunter. I was speaking with Muzz, who was the coach at the time, and I was doing some training up on the Gold Coast. I was getting married at that stage, and before Christmas, I think the Hunter Mariners folded, and I'd signed with the Broncos, and I was ready for training on the 4th of January.
Then go on to win the final in '98 and 2000.
Yeah.
But
again, there was no promises, as I keep on saying. What rugby league's all about. It's working hard, and that hard work pays off, and things sort of starting to happen. But we were. That side, I was on the bench for the '98 grand final. That side that ran on was just probably one of the all-time great sides, and I was lucky to be a part of it.
And playing with, I think he's probably one of your favourite players, in Alan Langer too, someone of his calibre. Not only is he a great player, but he's one of the funniest blokes you'll probably ever meet as well.
But a genuine guy, very team-orientated. At the Broncos, there was a great culture there. Everyone knew their job. Wayne was basically just the director. It wasn't about there was structure when you had to go back to the structure when you're under pressure. But with Elfie and Kevy and Steve Renouf and Darren Smith on the other side, they could just play footy, and then you had Wendell and Lockie and that to sort of polish it off.
So you must be just keep pinching yourself again. You've worked hard. Obviously you deserve to get there, but playing first grade, playing for Queensland, playing in losing grand final to start with, but then winning grand finals, and just a dream come true.
Yeah, mate. It was just a great. A lot of it has to do with luck. I read your thing that you posted on Facebook a couple of. When we were talking at training about, moments in your career where someone believes in you and someone doesn't believe you, and someone does, and then you get a lucky crack and you go on with it. I had that moment when I was at the Seagulls. I came down as I said, I was trialling, and we were playing in the Southport knockout, and I was starting, and I was on the bench. I was starting, anyway, Belly dropped me one day and basically discarded me to the reserve grade, who was coached by Graham Eady at the time. Sorry, the reserve side for the reserve grade side. Anyway, we were up at Ipswich and some bloke didn't turn up to play, so Wombats grabbed me. I turned up early, and he put me in the second row in his team in the reserve grade side. And I had a cracker that day, and we were talking about luck, and luckily I had a really good game in the eyes of Graham Eady, who was a reserve grade coach, and from that moment on, Wombat loved me. Basically kept me, I started in the under-21s, got dropped to the bench, got back to the starting position. Wombat would then pull me up to reserve grade. I'd sit on the bench, and finally that 92 year I finished the year in reserve grade, which was, back then was an achievement. 21s was the next step, reserve grade, and then the first grade. And so that was my lucky break. Yeah.
So you go to the Warriors in 2001, and then you get to play in another grand final in 02, was it? And how did that move come out? But big change going from the Broncos over to the Warriors.
Yeah, it was. I'd signed. I'd been told by Wayne that there was no room under the salary cap, and which was okay. So I'd signed over in Warrington, and Alfie and Gigi were over there. So I knew guys who were playing over there. So I was comfortable enough to sign over there. And as you said, I went over for the World Cup and played for Ireland. And you were playing for Scotland, obviously. And had a wonderful time. But while we were there, it was the worst weather in 400 years. So luckily
it was just normal English weather.
It was the worst.
Luckily
it was the worst weather in 400 years. And I rang Wayne. I said, Wayne,
it was 6 degrees.
I said, Wayne, I don't really want to bring my wife at the time and the kids over here, because Austin, who was my firstborn, he was suffering with croup in Brisbane, so to take him over to England in that type of environment and that weather, I was just thinking, it was just doing my head in. So Wayne goes, he goes, leave it with me, give me 48 hours. And so within 48 hours, Wayne had basically struck up a deal with the Warriors and got me out of Warrington. But all I had to do was ring Darryl Vanderbilt, who I'd been to dinner with the previous week before.
Who got me to Castleford, and funny as it was, he got me over to Cass.
Yeah, so I had to ring Darryl and tell him the bad news, and I blamed the young fella for it.
And you made me take your bag of clothes back to Australia because you won't stay anymore. I was saying, what's in your bag?
I rocked up in England with these big, the Chinese bloody Samsonites, and I left them at Viozzi's place, and it cost me a fortune to bring them back home.
I was just thinking, please don't let there be anything untoward in these bags. So, a good experience over there. You make the grand final against the Roosters. Got a lot of young players in that side, but you make the GF, and fortunately on the day the Roosters aren't too good, but a good year.
A great experience, and we were well coached and through Daniel Anderson, but we had some unbelievable players at that particular time. We had Stacey Jones, who were Raiders, up there with Alfie and Darren Lockyer as my favourites, and but you had Ali Lartidi and Clinton Tupy. But we had a really good forward pack, and we built our wins from our aggressive forward play, and that's something that we didn't take into the grand final, unfortunately.
Well, Ali and Clinton were probably two of my favourite players that I love watching, because they played some footy, great footwork. Ali was just like Arthur Beeson, the way he got the ball away, and just so much talent. Some
of the tries that Ali scored, like he could run, and he was only 19. He could run. He was a big man. He was 6'5", and he was 105 kilos, and he had a lot of speed. But his ball skills and holding the ball and flicking the ball, and just really used to frustrate me because I wasn't used to that. You know, I was a two-hand carry, head down, ass up sort of player, and so it used to do my head in, but I got used to it, and we played some really good football.
Now, speaking of head down, Campo, nickname used to be called Sugar Bags because he split easy. Now, I've never, in all my career of playing rugby league, seen anyone get split or stitches like this fella. Every single game he would get stitched up. So that, a lot of that face is scar tissue, but I've never seen anyone. How many stitches do you reckon you had in your career?
Oh, you know, we used to have a competition, Port Puddington and I, about who would take out the year's stitch-a-thon. So look, we used to average, and Pud was he was a bit of a melonhead too, so he used to split open. But we used to average 100 a year. Yeah, so
sharp bones,
times 12, 1200. I just unfortunate, mate. Like I used to, but when I got taught to tackle when I was a young kid, Barry Curry, his name was, God bless him. He's only just passed away, which was a bit of a shock to us all. But he was my first coach from under 10s to under 15s. But old school, get your head in there, get nice. You had to be in close. It was all about timing. Don't worry about if you get a knock to the head. It's just the tighter your head is in there, the better the tackle. So, and I didn't sort of, I wasn't the best looking man, so it didn't sort of worry me if I got stitched.
Well, you certainly had some, and that was just in the couple of years that I played alongside you at the Gold Coast. You moved to the Cowboys. You're finally getting back to North Queensland. You probably wanted to go there a few years earlier, but you finally get back to there, and they're a much stronger club than obviously when I first started there in 95, 96, and you got to play they're the best crowd, I think, in the NRL.
Well, they are, and they love their rugby league, and they travel from everywhere. Look, I had Donnie Saunders, who's a great one of mine. Donnie, he was working in Ewington, which is 6 hours drive. So, but he used to come up regularly and stay at my place and just to watch footy. But that's what country people did, and they would have come from anywhere. I'm sure they would have. I know they were flying. The guys would fly the little four-seaters from Roma to come and watch the footy. So, but yeah, it was great to finally get back there. It was just, I guess, it was a last sort of ditch sort of thing. I didn't want to go overseas when I finished up with the Warriors. So the Cowboys came in with an offer, and we had a chat about where the club was heading and what they needed me to do within the club. Billy Johnson was there, and they'd signed Paul Rahihi as well, who'd been successful at the Bulldogs. So we were there just to change the culture of, there was still a drinking culture there and a going out after the game sort of culture. Win, lose or draw, they would still go out, have a win, go out and party, have a loss, still go out and party. And I just couldn't get my head around it. I know we played Manly. I think it was one of our first games in 2004, and this was the second year I was there, and for all purposes we should have beat Manly that first game. We were up by 12 points, but we lost it. We lost the game, and I was filthy. And I told the boys I was filthy in the sheds, and I basically said, if any of you blokes go, if I see any of you blokes or I hear any of you blokes going out tonight, shit'll hit the fan. And that sort of started changing the culture.